The rain never stopped on planet Varel. It fell like thin silver threads from the sky, washing the dirt off metal streets and cold stone towers. In the center of the city stood a cage. Inside it, two beings that didn't belong, an alien woman and her small child. The woman had gray-blue skin that shimmered in the rain, and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She sat silently, arms around her child, as humans passed by without stopping. Some looked in curiosity, some in fear. Most didn't care. A sign above the cage read, "War criminals. Do not approach." But the woman wasn't a criminal. Her name was Ariella, and she had once been a healer on her home planet, Lauren. She had never hurt anyone. Her people had fought against the Human Federation, but not her. Her husband had died in the war, and she had fled with her child, Luma, hoping for peace. Instead, they found chains. Every day, guards mocked her. They threw scraps of food at the cage like feeding animals. Luma, barely 6 years old, tried to smile through the pain, but hunger made his little body weak. He often whispered, "Mama, when can we go home?" Ariella never answered, because she had no home left. Across the street, a young human man stood under a broken umbrella. His name was Elias Venn, an engineer from the city's lower sector. He was not rich, not powerful, not special, but that day, something about the cage made him stop. He watched as a guard kicked a bowl of water toward the aliens. Luma flinched. The guard laughed. Elias clenched his fists. He heard people around him say things like, "Good, they deserve it. They killed our soldiers. Monsters like them should stay in cages." Elias looked closer. The child didn't look like a monster. He looked like any child, small, scared, and innocent. And the woman's eyes, they weren't angry. They were tired. Deep, endless sadness lived there. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. The image of the cage haunted him. He remembered stories his grandfather told him, stories of the old wars when humans were the ones behind bars. "Never forget, Elias," his grandfather had said. "One day we'll be judged by how we treat those weaker than us." The next morning, Elias returned. The guards were laughing again, playing cards near the cage. Ariella sat motionless, rain dripping from her hair. Her child coughed, a deep, painful sound that echoed in the empty street. Elias stepped closer. "Hey!" one of the guards barked. "No civilians near the cage. I'm just looking," Elias said softly. "Then look from a distance. These things bite." Elias looked at Luma, who was shivering. Then he did something no one else had done in weeks. He took off his coat and walked to the guard. "Give them this," he said. The guard laughed. "You serious? You want to waste your coat on them?" Elias nodded. "Please." The guard shrugged, took the coat, and tossed it into the cage like trash. Ariella hesitated, then picked it up slowly. She whispered something, words Elias didn't understand, but the tone was clear. It was thanks. When he saw her wrap the coat around her child, something in Elias's heart broke open. These weren't enemies. They were just survivors. As he walked away, he didn't notice a camera blinking red above the street. The government monitored everything, and helping enemy species was a crime. That night, the rain fell harder. Elias sat by his small workbench, staring at a hollow screen showing the cage's location. He opened a file on alien physiology. He wasn't sure why, maybe curiosity, maybe guilt. He discovered something strange. Lorans couldn't survive long in Vorel's air. It was too acidic. Without help, the mother and child would die soon. He stood up suddenly, heart racing. "They'll die if I do nothing," he whispered. Outside, thunder rolled through the night sky. He grabbed his tool bag. He didn't care about the law anymore. Because for the first time, Elias Venn felt something stronger than fear. He felt human. And as he stepped out into the storm toward the cage, lightning flashed across the city's towers, marking the beginning of a story that would change everything. The city of Varel slept under silver rain that night. Neon lights flickered on wet streets and thunder rolled far above the metal towers. Most people were safe inside their warm homes except Elias Venn. He moved through the alleys like a shadow, holding a small toolkit under his arm. His heart beat fast. Every step closer to the cage made his hands tremble, but his mind was set. He wasn't going there as a hero. He just wanted to stop feeling useless. When he reached the cage area, it was silent except for the sound of water dripping from iron bars. The guards were gone. probably inside their post, drinking and playing cards again. Elias hid behind a dumpster and waited. When the guard's laughter faded, he crossed the street quickly. His boots splashed in the puddles. He crouched beside the cage. Inside, Ariella sat awake. Her glowing eyes met his. For a second, neither moved. Elias whispered, "Don't be afraid. I want to help." The alien woman tilted her head, confused. Her thin lips moved slowly. "Human help?" "Yes," Elias said. "Your child, he's sick. You need clean air, not this acid rain." She didn't understand every word, but she heard the tone. Kind, gentle, nothing like the soldiers. She nodded slightly. Elias opened his bag and pulled out a small device shaped like a silver tube. It was a portable air filter he had built for mine workers. He pushed it through the bars toward her. "Use this near him. It will clean the air." Ariella took it with shaking hands. Her eyes softened. She whispered something in her language. Elias didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. "Thank you." Then he saw Luma, the child, sleeping on the cold ground, wrapped in his coat. The boy's breathing was slow, too slow. Elias felt pain twist in his chest. Suddenly, a shout echoed from behind. "Hey, who's there?" Elias froze. A guard had stepped outside to smoke. The red glow of his cigar lit up the rain. Without thinking, Elias whispered, "Hide that." The alien woman hid the air filter under her arms. Elias ducked behind the cage. The guard walked closer, flashlight sweeping the area. "I heard something." Elias held his breath. His heart pounded so loud he thought the guard could hear it. The beam of light passed inches from his face, then moved away. The guard grunted, spit on the ground, and went back inside. Elias exhaled slowly. He turned to the woman again. "I'll come back tomorrow. I'll bring food." "Real food." She nodded weakly. "Human. Good." Elias didn't know why, but those two words hit him harder than anything. He smiled just a little. Before leaving, he whispered, "My name is Elias." The woman pointed to herself. "Ariella." Then she pointed at her child. "Luma, their names. Real names. Not creatures, not aliens." Elias felt something awaken inside him, something powerful and dangerous, compassion. He walked home under the storm, unaware that someone was watching from the shadows. A tall man in a gray coat holding a hollow communicator. The man's eyes narrowed. "Civilian contact with aliens," he muttered, recording the scene. "Interesting." The next day, Elias went to work at the repair station as usual. But he couldn't focus. Machines buzzed, sparks flew, and his coworkers joked loudly. But he only thought about the cage. He stole a small energy pack, 2 nutrient bars, and a thermal blanket from the supply locker. His hands shook as he hid them under his jacket. That night he returned again. This time Ariella smiled when she saw him. Luma looked better, his breathing smoother. The air filter was working. Elias passed the food through the bars. "Eat slowly," he whispered. Ariella tore the bar in half and gave most of it to her son. She only ate a small piece herself. Elias frowned. "You need it too." She smiled softly, touching her chest. "Mother's strong." Elias felt his throat tighten. He turned away, pretending to fix something on his wrist pad. He didn't want her to see his eyes. As the rain fell, he told her small things. About the city, about the stars, about how he used to dream of exploring other planets. Ariella listened silently, her glowing eyes never leaving his face. For the first time, Elias didn't feel like he was talking to an alien. He was talking to someone who understood pain. Before he left, Ariella said quietly, "Human. Brave." Elias smiled faintly, maybe foolish. Far above them, in a military control room, the gray-coated officer replayed the surveillance footage. The image of Elias kneeling beside the cage filled the screen. "Find this man," he said coldly. "No human helps the enemy without reason." And as the city lights flickered below, Elias Venn walked home unaware that his kindness had already made him a target. Morning came heavy and gray over Varel City. The rain had stopped, but the clouds still pressed low, as if the sky itself was tired of watching cruelty. Elias Venn walked to work with his head down. His heart beat faster than usual. He kept seeing Ariella's face in his mind, and her child's small hand clutching his coat. He had done a kind thing, but now every camera felt like an eye watching him. At the central repair hub, machines roared and drones floated overhead. Elias slid his ID card through the gate. The scanner beeped twice in the delay. The guard frowned but said nothing. Elias forced a smile and went inside. He thought maybe it was just paranoia. But in an office high above the city, it wasn't paranoia. It was truth. In the tower of the Human Federation Authority, Officer Crail watched the replay again. The image showed Elias handing food through the cage bars, rain dripping off his hair. Crail's metal hand tapped the desk slowly. Human emotion, he said coldly, always their weakness. He turned to the young lieutenant beside him. Issue a quiet warrant. Civilian name, Elias Venn. Charge collaboration with hostile species. Yes, sir, the lieutenant replied. Crail smiled faintly. Let's see how brave compassion really is. That evening, Elias returned home to his small apartment in the lower sector. The lights flickered as he made a cup of hot tea. The air smelled of rust and oil. He was exhausted, but he couldn't rest. His mind kept returning to Ariella's tired eyes, to the boy's weak cough. He looked out the window at the city's glow and whispered, "I'll help them one more time. Just one more." He didn't know this night would change everything. When he reached the cage area, 2 guards were missing and shift change. Perfect timing. He crouched behind a transport vehicle and waited. Inside the cage, Ariella saw him and smiled faintly. "Elias," he grinned. "You remembered my name. Hard to forget. The only good human." He laughed softly, though pain touched his eyes. "Don't say that too loud. They'll lock me up beside you." He slid another packet of food through the bars and a small can of warm liquid. "This will help the child's breathing. It's medicine for the lungs." Ariella's hands trembled as she took it. "Why risk your life?" Elias looked at her, then at the child. "Because I can't live knowing I did nothing." For a moment, silence hung between them, the kind of silence that speaks more than words. Then Luma's small voice whispered, Elias?" "Home?" Elias froze. The child could speak a little human language now. He smiled sadly. "Not yet, little one. But someday, yes, someday home." A flash of light suddenly cut the night. A drone, small, silent black, hovered above the cage. Its red lens turned toward Elias. He cursed under his breath. "They found me." Ariella's eyes widened. "Go, human, go." Elias backed away, but the drone followed, scanning him with bright lines. He ran through the alley, heart hammering. Behind him, alarms began to wail. Unauthorized civilian detected in military zone. He ran faster, slipping on wet metal. Guards poured out of a station, shouting, "Stop him." He turned a corner, breath ragged, and jumped over a low barrier. A blast of energy hit the wall behind him and a warning shot. Sparks flew. He dived behind a dumpster and pulled a small EMP device from his belt, a tool he'd built for broken drones. He threw it at the pursuer. The device exploded with a dull thump, and the drone dropped dead from the sky. Elias kept running until his lungs burned. Finally, he reached a maintenance tunnel under the city. He slipped inside and waited, gasping for air. He pressed his back against the cold wall. His mind raced. "They know my name now. I can't go home." But his first thought wasn't for himself. It was for Ariella and Luma. "They'll punish them because of me." At dawn, soldiers arrived at the cage. Officer Crail himself stepped out of a black armored car. The street emptied as citizens moved away. He looked at Ariella with disgust. "Where is the human?" She stared back, silent. Crail smirked. "You protect him? You think he can save you?" "Pathetic." He turned to the guards. "Double the security. No one goes near them. And prepare the child for transfer. The scientists want samples." Ariella's scream tore through the air. She threw herself against the bars, but shock rods pushed her back. Her hands bled, her voice broke, but she didn't stop shouting, "No! Please, not him!" Crail smiled. "Now he will come. Humans always come for what they love." Far away in the dark of the maintenance tunnel, Elias sat with his head in his hands. Rainwater dripped from the ceiling. His fingers shook. He could run. He could hide. The city was big, and the Federation didn't waste time on one mechanic. But then he remembered Luma's voice. "Home?" And Ariella's soft whisper. "Human." "Good." Elias lifted his head. His eyes hardened. "No," he said quietly. "I won't let them take him." He stood up, wiped the dirt from his face, and opened his tool bag. Inside was his old prototype, a half-built breathing unit meant for alien biology. "This time," he muttered, "I build it for real." And as thunder began to roll again above Varel, Elias Venn started working, the outlaw human who dared to defy the Federation for the sake of a mother and her child. The rain had stopped, but the city of Vorel felt colder than ever. The streets shimmered under the pale glow of broken neon signs, and the air smelled like iron and fear. Deep beneath the city, in an old maintenance tunnel, Elias Venn sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by tools, wires, and glowing parts. He hadn't slept in 2 days. His eyes were red, his hands dirty, but his mind was sharper than ever. Before him lay a small device, silver, fragile, and humming faintly. It was something he once designed for space miners, a portable life support core. But now he was turning it into something far greater, a breathing system for alien lungs. He whispered to himself, "If I can finish this, they'll survive. If I fail, they die." He wiped the sweat from his forehead, adjusted a coil, and soldered the wires carefully. Each spark reminded him of Ariella's voice and her child's faint cough. He could still hear her pleading cry when the soldiers came. He clenched his jaw. "They won't take the boy. Not while I live." High above in the Federation Tower, Officer Krail read a report on his holoscreen. Elias Venn, confirmed fugitive. Suspected in aiding alien prisoners. Tracking suspended due to EMP interference, Krail smirked. Smart human. But not smart enough. He pressed a button on his desk. "Send a unit to monitor the cage. The woman and her child stay alive, for now. I want him to come to them." That same night, Elias made his move. He dressed in dark clothes, strapped the breathing core into a small metal case, and slung it across his shoulder. The rain had begun again, whispering against the rooftops as if warning him to turn back. But there was no turning back. He moved through the back streets, avoiding cameras and patrol drones. He knew every blind spot, every maintenance route. He had repaired half of them himself over the years. When he reached the outer wall of the detention area, he crouched low behind a generator. 2 guards stood near the gate, bored and half asleep. He waited until thunder rolled across the sky, then threw a small spark grenade. It flashed bright white, blinding but harmless. The guards shouted, confused. Elias slipped through the side vent and crawled into the shadow of the main courtyard. There it was, the cage. Ariella sat silently, her face pale, her arms wrapped tightly around Luma. The child's breathing was weak, and his small chest rose and fell with effort. Elias whispered, "Ariella." Her eyes snapped open. When she saw him, tears filled them instantly. "Elias, you come." "Back. Quiet," he said softly, kneeling by the bars. "We don't have much time." He pulled out the breathing core. "This will help Luma breathe clean air. But I need to open the cage first." Ariella touched the bars. Shock. "I know." Elias opened his toolkit, revealing an old control pad. He connected it to the cage's security port. The pad's screen flickered with red warnings. "Access denied," he cursed under his breath. They changed the system. Footsteps echoed in the distance. "Patrol coming." Elias worked faster, his fingers moving across the pad. He rerouted the power line, bypassed the electric charge, and finally, click, the lock turned green. Ariella gasped softly. The door opened with a quiet hiss. "Take the device," Elias said quickly. "Put it on Luma's chest," she obeyed. The silver device glowed softly, releasing gentle blue air around the child. Luma's breathing eased. His color returned slightly. "Good," Elias whispered, relief flooding his voice. "Now listen, we have to go now." But before they could move, a harsh light hit them from above. "Freeze!" a voice roared. Elias turned. A patrol drone hovered near the roof, red light spinning. The alarm blared across the compound. Ariella clutched her child close, eyes wide with fear. Elias grabbed her arm. "Run!" They sprinted through the side exit, sirens screaming. Soldiers appeared from every direction. Elias threw another spark grenade, filling the air with smoke. Blinded, the soldiers fired blindly. Energy bolts sliced the air, burning holes in the metal walls. Elias and Ariella ducked into a service tunnel. Sparks danced around them as they ran through darkness. Luma's soft cough echoed like thunder in Elias's ears. Behind them, Krail's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. "You can't hide, human. You've just started a war." Elias shouted back into the tunnel, voice fierce and raw. "Then let it begin." They reached the old sewer exit where rain poured like a curtain of silver. The city stretched beyond, wide, cold, and full of danger. Ariella turned to him, trembling. "Where we go?" Elias looked toward the horizon where lightning flashed against the towers. "Somewhere they can't find you. Somewhere safe," she stared at him. "You come?" He hesitated. "If I don't distract them, they'll catch you. I'll buy you time." Her eyes filled with tears. "You be good human." "But good humans die here," he smiled faintly. "Maybe, but not tonight." He pressed the breathing core tighter against Luma's chest and turned toward the tunnel entrance where the soldiers were closing. And Ariella watched as Elias disappeared into the storm, drawing the enemy away. She held her child close and whispered through her tears, "Run, brave human. Run." Rain poured down like glass shards as Elias Venn ran through the lower city streets. His lungs burned, his boots splashed through puddles, and sirens howled behind him. "Fugitive spotted near Sector 9. The loudspeakers blared. "Human traitor aiding enemy species. Capture alive." Every corner of Vorel City flashed with red lights. Drones zipped through the air, scanning faces, reading IDs. Elias kept his hood low, weaving through crowds of frightened citizens. They all backed away when they saw his face appear on the giant holoscreens. His own face, labeled Enemy of the Federation. He ducked into an abandoned tram tunnel, heart pounding. Sparks crackled from the old tracks. He pressed his back against the wall and closed his eyes for a second. "I did the right thing," he whispered. "I did." But doing the right thing had turned the whole world against him. Meanwhile, at the detention compound, Officer Krail stood over the empty cage. His voice was like steel. "The alien and her child are gone. The mechanic helped them escape." A young soldier trembled. "Sir, should we search the city?" Krail snapped. "No mercy. I want the woman alive. The human, bring me his head." He turned to his assistant. "Activate the hunters." The assistant hesitated. "Sir, the hunters haven't been used in—" Krail slammed his metal hand on the table. "Now." Moments later, deep under the tower, cold machines awakened. Metal beasts, half drone, half soldier, opened their glowing eyes. Their scanners locked onto Elias's biosignature. The hunt had begun. Elias moved through the shadows, clutching his tool bag tightly. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the streets were alive with searchlights. He ducked into a narrow alley and climbed a ladder to the rooftops. From there he could see the whole city, towers glowing red, ships patrolling above, the Federation seal flashing on every screen. "They'll find me soon," he thought. "I need help." Then a voice came from behind. "You've already got it." Elias spun around, raising a metal wrench as a weapon. A tall woman stepped out of the shadows, wearing a long gray coat and a half-broken visor. Her face was scarred, her eyes sharp. "Relax, I'm not Federation. Who are you?" Elias asked. "Name's Taryn Voss," she said. "Ex-engineer. Like you. How do I know you're not here to turn me in?" She smirked. "Because if I wanted to, you'd already be in a cage." Elias hesitated. Her calm voice, her steady eyes, they didn't feel like a threat. Taryn stepped closer. "I saw what you did. The whole city saw. You helped one of them. That takes guts," he frowned. "Now I'm a wanted man." "Good," she said simply. "Maybe it's time someone made them afraid." She handed him a small chip. "This will jam the hunter's scanners for a few hours. Follow me." Elias followed her through a maze of old rooftops until they reached a forgotten transport station. Inside, broken trains sat rusting in the dark. Taryn knelt beside a control panel. "This place isn't on the grid. You're safe here, for now." Elias exhaled, finally sitting down. Ariella and her child, they escaped through the tunnels. "I need to find them before the Federation does." Taryn studied him. "You really care about them, don't you?" "They're innocent," Elias said firmly. "They just wanted peace." Taryn smiled faintly. "Then maybe you're the kind of human this galaxy still needs." Hours passed. Outside, thunder rolled again. Inside, Elias worked beside Taryn, fixing an old comms terminal. He finally asked, "Why are you helping me?" Taryn looked away. "Because I once built the cages they're using now." Elias froze, her voice trembled. "I designed the lock systems. I thought it was for containment, not cruelty. When I saw what they did with my work, I left." Elias nodded slowly. "Then maybe we can make up for it, and together." Taryn handed him a data pad. "This shows the old sewer network. If Ariella went east, she'll end up near the shipyard, but the Federation will expect that. So we need a distraction," Elias said. Taryn grinned. I like the way you think. They began to plan, carefully, quietly, like two sparks plotting against a storm. But far across the city, Officer Crail watched his screens. The hunters had found a trail, faint heat signatures in the old tunnels. He smiled coldly. Got you. As dawn broke, Elias and Taryn prepared to move. Elias tightened the straps on his bag. The breathing device prototype was still glowing faintly. He looked at Taryn. If we're caught, we won't be, she interrupted. We can't be. They slipped out into the morning fog. The city was waking up, unaware that somewhere beneath its shining towers, two humans were planning to fight back, not with guns, but with courage. Elias looked toward the horizon and whispered, Hold on, Ariella. I'm coming. But behind them in the distance, a low metallic growl echoed through the alleys. The hunters were closer than they thought, and the hunt was far from over. The night sky over Vorel was red with lightning. The Federation patrols filled the air, hunting for one man, a mechanic who dared to help the enemy. In the old ruins outside the city, Elias Venn and Taryn Voss hid in a broken shelter built long before the war. The walls were cracked, the air thick with dust, but it was quiet. For now, Elias worked by the faint blue light of the breathing core. Its hum was soft, steady, the same sound that had kept little Luma alive. He wiped his hands on his torn sleeves and looked at Taryn. Any signal? He asked. She shook her head. None. The Federation jammed all communication lines. Elias frowned. Then we find them the old way. He opened the holomap. Red dots covered most of the city. Federation checkpoints. The only safe area left was the old water district, a maze of abandoned tunnels under the cliffs. If Ariella escaped through the east tunnel, Taryn said, tracing the map with her finger, she'll end up here. Elias nodded. Then that's where I'm going. Taryn grabbed his arm. You won't make it alone. The hunters are out there. I've been alone since this started, he said quietly. But they're not. They need me. Taryn hesitated. Then she handed him a small metal disc. Take this. EMP burst. One use only. It'll shut down a hunter if you're lucky. He gave her a tired smile. Thanks. As he stepped into the storm, Taryn whispered, Come back alive, Venn. He didn't answer. He just disappeared into the darkness. The old water district was silent except for dripping water and the faint hum of electricity. The tunnels were lit by flickering lights, their walls carved with strange alien symbols, remnants of an older civilization. Elias moved carefully, his boots echoing on the wet ground. His heart pounded with every step. Then, from deep in the tunnel, he heard it, a soft cough. He froze. Luma, he whispered. A faint voice answered, weak but real. Ilias? He ran toward the sound. Around a corner behind a pile of broken pipes, he found them. Ariella sat on the ground holding her son close. Her skin was pale, her eyes dull from exhaustion. The breathing core on Luma's chest flickered weakly, its energy almost gone. Elias dropped to his knees beside them. You're alive! Ariella looked up, tears filling her eyes. You came back, he smiled softly. I told you I would. She tried to speak, but emotion broke her voice. Luma reached out a small hand, touching Elias's face. Home, the child whispered. Elias's throat tightened. We'll get you home. I promise. He opened his bag and pulled out a new power cell. Hold still. With quick hands, he connected it to the breathing core. The blue light flared back to life, stronger now. Luma's breathing eased. Ariella closed her eyes, whispering something in her language. A prayer, maybe. But their peace lasted only seconds. A metallic roar echoed through the tunnels. The ground trembled. Elias turned. A red glow filled the darkness. A hunter, tall, armored with glowing eyes and mechanical limbs, crawled through the tunnel like a spider made of steel. Ariella gasped. They found us. Elias stood up, stepping in front of them. Stay behind me. The hunter's voice was deep and cold. Human Elias Venn, you are charged with treason against the Federation. Surrender. Elias tightened his grip on the EMP disc. Not today. The hunter raised its weapon arm. A beam of red energy blasted toward him. He dived aside, the wall exploding in sparks. He rolled, slamming the EMP disc onto the ground. A wave of blue light burst out, slamming into the machine. The hunter screamed, half electronic, half animal, and its systems flickered violently. It staggered, then fell to one knee, smoke rising from its joints, but it wasn't destroyed. "Go!" Elias shouted to Ariella. "Take Luma and run." She shook her head. "No, you come too." "I'll hold it off." He picked up a broken pipe and swung it hard against the hunter's head, sparks flying. The machine grabbed him, metal claws crushing his arm. Elias screamed but didn't stop fighting. He pulled a power cable from his bag, jammed it into the hunter's chest, and triggered it. Electricity surged. The machine convulsed, then went still, its red eyes fading. Elias dropped to the ground, panting, his arm bleeding. Ariella rushed to him, tears in her eyes. "You saved us again," he smiled weakly. "You keep saying that like it's over." She looked toward the tunnel entrance. "More coming?" Elias nodded. "Always more." Far above, in the Federation Tower, Officer Crail watched the hunter's signal go dark. His jaw tightened. "So the mechanic fights back, good." He turned to his soldiers. "Ready, my ship? If the human wants to play hero, I'll end it myself." Back in the tunnel, Ariella tore a strip from her cloak and wrapped Elias's arm. He whispered, "There's an old dock ahead. Taryn will meet us there. She can get you off-world." Ariella looked at him, eyes shining with gratitude. "Why help us when your own people hate you for it?" Elias smiled faintly. "Because sometimes being human means doing what others won't." They moved together through the tunnels, toward the faint light of dawn breaking above the cliffs. But behind them, through the smoke and shadows, another red glow flickered to life. Not one, but many. The Federation was closing in, and the final act of Elias Ven's defiance was yet to come. The first light of dawn broke over the cliffs of Vorel, painting the dark sky with silver fire. The storm had passed, but the world still trembled, not from thunder, but from engines. Federation ships roared above the horizon, searching for one man who refused to obey. Elias Ven stumbled through the last stretch of the tunnels, blood on his sleeve and dirt on his face. Ariella followed close behind, holding her son tightly. The small boy's breathing was steady now, the life support core glowing softly on his chest. Ahead of them, a weak light flickered, the old cliff dock, half broken and forgotten by the city above. The sea below crashed against sharp rocks. An old transport ship waited there, its hull rusted but engines still alive. "Taryn did it," Elias whispered, smiling weakly. "She got the ship working." When they stepped inside, Taryn Voss was already at the controls. Her coat was torn, her visor cracked, but her eyes lit up when she saw them. "You made it," she said. "Hurry, we don't have much time." Ariella climbed aboard, holding Luma close. Elias followed, limping. The engines coughed and flared to life, shaking the dock. But before they could lift off, a shadow fell across the deck. From the clouds above, a black ship descended, sleek, armored, and deadly. Its engines roared like a storm. Taryn's face went pale. "No, it's him." The ship landed hard, sending dust flying. The ramp dropped and Officer Crail stepped out, surrounded by soldiers. His metal hand gleamed in the morning light. "End of the road, Ven," he said coldly. "You've caused enough trouble." Elias stood between Crail and the others. "Let them go." Crail smiled faintly. "You think your mercy changes anything? You saved monsters. Their kind burned our colonies. They killed thousands." Ariella's voice trembled. "Not me, not my child." Crail ignored her. He took a step closer to Elias. "You betrayed your own species for them." "Why?" Elias looked him straight in the eyes. "Because someone had to remember what being human means." For a moment, silence filled the air, heavy, electric. Then Crail raised his weapon. "Wrong answer." He fired. Elias grabbed a metal pipe and dove forward. The blast hit the wall, spraying sparks. He swung hard, knocking the gun from Crail's hand. Soldiers opened fire. Taryn shouted, "Go! Get them to the ship." Elias turned. "No, I'll hold them." Taryn's eyes met his. She understood. She grabbed Ariella's arm. "Get the engines ready." Blasts filled the dock. Elias ducked behind a crate, heart pounding, hands shaking. He was outnumbered, bleeding and tired, but he refused to run. He threw one of his homemade EMP charges. It exploded, disabling 2 drones instantly. Then he rushed forward, tackling a soldier and taking his rifle. Crail stepped through the smoke like a ghost. "You can't stop all of us," Elias smiled grimly. "I don't have to." He raised the rifle, not at Krail, but at the dock's power core. Krail's eyes widened. "You wouldn't," Elias whispered. "Watch me." He fired. The power core erupted in a blast of light and energy. The dock shook violently. The shockwave threw soldiers backward. Terran screamed, "Elias, get in!" But he didn't move. The flames surrounded him. He looked up at the ship one last time and saw Ariella holding her child, tears running down her face. He smiled. "Fly." Ariella's voice broke. "No." He took a step back, steadying himself as fire spread around him. "You have to survive. Both of you." "Promise me." Ariella nodded, choking on tears. "Promise." The ship's engines roared to life. Terran pulled the controls hard, and the old transport rose into the air just as the dock exploded in a wave of fire and smoke. Through the flames, Elias stood tall, a human shadow against the light. Krail staggered, shouting, "Stop that ship!" But it was too late. The explosion consumed everything. Far above the city, the transport ship broke through the clouds. Ariella clutched Luma tightly, looking down through the viewing glass. Below them, the dock was gone, only a pillar of smoke rising into the sky. Luma whispered, "Elias." "Gone?" Ariella's voice was soft but steady. "No, he's with the stars now." Terran's hands trembled on the controls. "He bought us a future," Ariella nodded slowly. "And we will live it." For him, months later, far beyond the reach of the Federation, on a quiet green planet, a small marker stood near a silver stream. It read, "Elias Venn, human, builder, brave." He remembered what others forgot. Compassion. Luma placed a small flower beside it, the same kind that grew on their old world. "Good human," he whispered. Ariella looked at the sky, tears glimmering in her glowing eyes. "You saved us, Elias, and one day, the galaxy will know your name." As the wind moved gently through the trees, the sound almost formed a voice, soft, warm, human. "You're free now." And for the first time since the war began, peace touched the stars.